is where the Davis Apartments now are. This house was moved here from Agnew's by Ernest and Ruby Davis. And then they later on bought the property in the back and they put apartments in the back. This is the Alameda home, purchased by Mary and Manuel Alameda. Well, it was built for them. And then their nephew, Joe Pimentel and Elsie Pimentel, purchased this house from them. This is the Mamie Rose Moretti house. It was built by her father, and he also built the Alameda house next door. At this corner of South Main and Corning Avenue was the the United Market. And I think it was one of the first ones built in Milpitas.
Do you remember who ran that?
Tommy Chu. This is the Dr. Albert Curlin house. To the right was his home, and to the left section was his office. He delivered many of Milpitas residents. This is the site of the George Abel house. The son was named George. I think the father's name was George Sr. And they were very prominent in Milpitas. They were ranchers. They even ranched in Nevada. Thus, Abel Street is named after. To the left was the Irving Crab lumber yard. Next to that was the Jolly Cone restaurant. And they had great Frosties there and hamburgers. And then behind this building, directly in front of us, was the train depot. This site was the home of Gertrude Abel. The George Abel family donated this property to St. John the Baptist Church for them to build a parochial school here. George Abel Jr. also paid to have the windows taken out of the old church when it was knocked down because it was not earthquake proof, and donated the stone glass windows, and they still stand today in the new church. This is the Rose house. It was built by Manuel Rose for his family. So this was the home of Mamie Rose Moretti when she was growing up. This is the house next door to the Red and White Market that belonged to Mrs. Alves, and in her passing, it was given to her nephew, Tom and Elsie Cardoza. This is the old Red and White store in Milpitas, owned by Mrs. Alves, and as she passed, she left it to her nephew, Tom Cardoza. They used to give credit to the sharecroppers, and when their crops would come in, they would pay their bills. Next to Tom Evatt's motor park was some property owned by Fred Gomez, who came here from the Cape Verde Islands. He was a black man and he spoke Portuguese very well. He had little houses in there, and he would rent them out to the migrant workers. This home is the old Denise house, which was in the front at one time, and then when Mr. Denise built the new home, he moved this one back here. This is the house of Frank and Mary Silvera. They had one daughter by the name of Doris, and they lived here for many years. And behind this house was the property of Josephine Guerrero's grandmother. And then to the left of them was the Louis and Mary Pimentel house. Then there was the Williams home, and then Ray Madruga's home, and Jack Gallard's house, and then Clarence Dutra's house.